morning and namaste everyone. I am Shomu Banerjee. I am the Manager Alumni Relation at Vishnu University. First of all, thank you very much for all of you for attending today's knowledge sharing interactive session on Life Beautiful. It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker. Today we are honored to have Dr. Sampadananda Mishra. Dr. Mishra is the Dean Culture Director of and the Director of Center for Human Sciences at Vishnu University. We are really excited to hear what Sampath-ji has to say today. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Sampath-ji. Welcome, Sampath sir, for to the session. We really look forward having an enriching and highly interactive session today. Over to you, sir.
So, first of all, namaskar to all of you, and sorry for the technical problem. I also kept trying to join for, look at with 10-15 links, so it didn't happen. So sometimes the nature plays certain roles. So, yes, our today's topic is Life Beautiful. Why have we chosen this topic? The very reason is that life must be beautiful and life is beautiful, but the kind of life that we are living today is not really beautiful. We hardly find beauty around. The world within and the world without, all filled in with ugliness. So much of ugliness that we do not experience the joy, the ananda, the happiness that we should. Living life is not just enough, but we need to live life rightfully. It should be the right living, not just the art of living or science of living, but the art and science of right living. But how do we live rightfully? So what is the way out? See, we are happy if we say, ask people, evaluate ourselves, evaluate our life's activities, life's situations. We sometimes feel happy, sometimes we do not feel happy, but overall, no one is happy. Yet, no one wants to, give up life, because there is an urge to live, which is very, very natural to our swabhava. Urge to live. Why? This is where the Shastra, for example, like we turn to Taittiriya Upanishad, which says that everything comes from Ananda. Everything is maintained by Ananda, and everything merges into Ananda. There's nothing but Ananda, Ananda alone. So if there is Ananda alone, then why do we keep suffering? Why there is so much of ugliness? Why there is so much of disharmony? Why there is no beauty? Why there is no joy in life? Then what we call joy, is it not the joy? What we call happiness, is it not the happiness? What we call Ananda is not the Ananda? No. If we evaluate closely, if we evaluate very strictly all our happinesses, we will find that always there is an if added to our happiness or unhappiness. If something happens, I'm happy. If it doesn't happen, I'm unhappy. So all our happiness, little or big, all our unhappiness, little or big, is always conditional. And we put that condition, and then we impose our own will on the divine, that this is how it has to happen. I wish this happens in my life. But we are not relying on what exactly the divine wants. We're not aligning with the divine will, the divine wish, the divine plan. We just want our wish to be fulfilled by the divine. Then if anything goes wrong, then we put the blame on the divine. So Life, if we look at the source of it, if we look at where it leads, the experiences, the realizations of the Rishi is that it is all Ananda. But where is that Ananda? In a deeper sense, the Ananda is ever existing. The Ananda is equally available for everyone on the earth, everyone in this universe. But there is a problem with our own consciousness, that we do not experience the Ananda, or we experience only that much Ananda to the degree by which, like we are prepared, we have raised ourselves. So ultimately, if we look at the Shastras, if we look at the realizations of the rishis of the past, everything boils down to one problem that is the root cause of the humanity, all problems of the humanity. And that problem is that dosha is the Karpanya dosha, the miserliness, the narrowness of our consciousness, the meanness that we carry. So what is this miserliness? And once this miserliness affects any one of us, we land in a problem which had affected once to Arjuna. We see in the Gita like how the greatest of the hero warriors, Arjuna, who had fought so many wars before he, was present in the field of Dharmakshetra and Kurukshetra. So he had fought many wars. He had come out victorious in many situations, the greatest of the hero warriors, but he falls into this state of misery. He finds himself in a very deplorable condition, and where he takes a decision not to fight. And he convinces Krishna that fighting in this world is not good, is not good. So then Krishna gives him a teaching. He explains him, not just addressing and giving solutions to his questions, but he is addressing to the very, consciousness of Arjuna, the consciousness which has fallen into that state of narrowness. So Krishna addresses to that and then brings him out of that narrowness of consciousness and then makes him fight and then makes him come out victorious in the war. So this is what happens in the life of every one of us. So what is the preparation? When we are talking about life beautiful, we truly need to evaluate, is there beauty in our life? And what is it that we mean by beauty? Is it something that has to be beautiful in the outer form? No. If we go deep again, we will find that it is the Ananda, which is the source of creation, which is the ultimate goal of the creation. It is that Ananda which manifests in form. And that is what is the beauty. And when we are talking about form, it is not just the physical form. It can take the form of a thought. It can take the form of an emotion. It can take the form of an idea. So the beauty has to be at every level. There is a beauty in thought. There is beauty in emotion. There is beauty in form. There is beauty in idea. There's beauty in everything, and we need to become conscious of that. And why we do not experience that beauty is because of our mechanical nature, mechanical functioning, robotic functioning. Because maximum of us, we live in the physical mind, which thinks mechanically, which behaves and works and functions mechanically, like a robot, like a machine, like a yantra. So then we are incapable of expressing the beauty or living the beauty in our life. That happens because there's so much of unrefined nature that affects our consciousness. There is no refinement at the physical level. There's no refinement at the emotional level. There's no refinement in the mental psychological level. There's no refinement in the senses. And this is the work that we need to do, that keep refining ourselves. And when this process of refining ourselves, and this is what is the true education, making everything Sanskrita refined, polished, our senses refined, our mind refined, our physical form refined, our emotions refined, then we can experience beauty everywhere. And beauty is what? How do we define beauty? The beauty can be defined in many different ways, but the essence of beauty is harmony. The essence of beauty is symmetry. The essence of beauty is proportion. The essence of beauty is equanimity. The essence of beauty is equality. So wherever this equanimity has manifest, wherever this harmony has manifest, wherever proportion, symmetry, coordination, proper coordination has happened. For example, like we take our thoughts. There will be beauty in thoughts when there is proper coordination in the thoughts. When it is symmetrical, when the harmonious thought movements flow in us, there is beauty in thought. There's beauty in emotions when that harmony takes place in our emotional being. There is, beauty in the physical form when there is this harmony which manifests in all our physical aspects, in our physical movements. So harmony and beauty, they cannot be separated from each other. Therefore, in Sanskrit, the most beautiful word that defines beauty or that expresses beauty and that explains us what is beauty is Sushama. There are words like Sundarya, there is word like Ruchi, there is word like Lavanya, and there is word like Charu. But this is the word, the word Sushama, which defines what beauty is. Sushama means superbly equal, superbly harmonious, superbly proportionate. So when that happens, whatever the aspect may be, whether it is the physical aspect or the emotional aspect or the mental psychological aspect, the beauty will manifest. And therefore, the ancient seers and sages have given a lot of importance to every aspect of human life, and they have shown us the way how do we make every aspect of our life beautiful. There is a beautiful mantra in the Vedic text which actually provides us a scheme to live a beautiful life. It's a mantra with which most of us we are familiar, but we hardly dive deep into the content of the mantra and then take an opportunity to live what lies behind that mantra. Although we all have been chanting this mantra, so I look at it as a formula which has been given to us so many thousands of years before, so then we can live life beautifully. It says Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyam Deva. Like, as long as we live, may we listen. Our power of audition is to be such that it is open only to the words of beauty, only to the sounds of or the vibrations of beauty and ananda and all that is good for the soul's progress, soul's inner progress. So that is what is the Bhadra, the word Bhadra, the word Swasti. So all these are used in the Veda in the sense of whatever is good for the soul's progress. So how do we train ourselves just to listen what is good, what is Bhadra, what is helpful. I mean, we all know this story, so there's no harm in repeating this. The story is about these filters. So once someone, like came to Socrates and then said that I have something uh, to share with you. So there is a like friend of yours who like I want to tell something about this friend of yours. So Socrates asked him, okay, hold on. Before you tell me, first you have to pass through these three filters. Is it okay? So whatever you are going to tell me about my friend, is it true? Have you heard directly? He said, no, I haven't heard it directly. I have heard it through someone, and I don't know whether it is true or not. So he said, if it is not true, and then you yourself have not heard it, then why do you want to tell me that? Second, whatever you are going to tell me, is it useful either for you, for me, for my friend, for the world? He said, no. He said, if it is not useful, neither for you, nor for me, nor for the world, why are you going to tell me that? He said, the third, whatever you are going to tell me, is it good? He said, no. He said, if it is not good for you, not good for me, not good for the world, so why do you want to tell me that? So these are the filters that we need to keep before we hear anything or say anything. So if these filters are not there, and sometimes we do discuss about it, in our friend circle, okay, what is your filter? Where is your filter? So have you filtered before you talk to me that? And most of the times, however educated we may be, to tell you the blunt truth, that we ourselves commit such mistakes most of the times in our life. And that is a vital element which, like encourages us, a lower vital movement, which encourages us to criticize others, to tell something wrong about others, because that lower vital, which enjoys, telling something wrong about others, criticizing others, taking interest in others, something wrong happens to others. So these are all coming from the lower vital, lower nature of ours. And then if we really want to make our life beautiful, we have to become conscious from which part of our being the message is coming. And the messages can keep coming from any part of our being. It doesn't matter. But the right attitude is to filter all the messages and then accept only if it is Bhadra. This is the secret of right living. This is the secret of life beautiful that has been given to us in the form of a mantra to every one of us, to the entire humanity by the rishis of the past. Bhadram karane shrunuyama deva. So our sankalpa has to be, let's hear anything which is Bhadra, anything which is useful, anything which is good, anything which is true to our aspirations, anything that helps us growing from within. And if that doesn't happen, let's close our ears. Let's train our ears in such a manner that we don't hear to anything which doesn't help us, which doesn't, like create beauty for us, make our life beautiful. Most of the times, for most of us, we make our own life miserable by paying attention to many unnecessary things, by giving expression to many unnecessary things which are not Bhadra. Can we keep this word Bhadra right in front of us in whatever situation we may be in life? That will start bringing changes into our life, not just listening, Bhadram Karnebhi. So it also says, the next line it says, Bhadram Pashyema Akshibhir Yajatra. So Yajatra, that means the humanity is addressed as sacrificer. Yajatra, all those who are doing the yajna. And we must, every action of ours must be sacrificed to, must be performed with the attitude of offering it to the divine. So that's where we become Yajatra. We become the sacrificer. So not in the other sense of sacrifice, but in the sense of yajna, in the sense of self-giving, in the sense of offering. So Bhadram Pashyema, may we see everything that is Bhadra. There is again this animal impulse in us, this lower nature which pushes us, which encourages us to see something which is ugly, see something which is not actually Bhadra, but we take interest. That lower vital, it takes interest in that. So we keep seeing. So Bhadram Pashyema Akshibhir Yajatra, the Rishi says that let's see all that is Bhadra, all that helps us, all that is good, all that is true, all that can lead us to the light, to peace, to true happiness. Bhadram Pashyema Akshibhir Yajatra. Then it says, like Sthirei Rangai Stushtuvangsastanovi. So our body has to be very strong. Tanubhi, Sthirei Rangai. There has to be sthirata. It's like Patanjali says, Sthiram Sukham Asanam. So the body, every part of our body, there has to be sthirata, there has to be dhirata, there has to be steadiness, there has to be strength, yet there has to be rhythm, there has to be suppleness, there has to be beauty in every aspect of the body. Like it just expresses beauty in all its movement, yet it is strong, it is supple, it's rhythmic, it's soft, yet it is strong. And why this body is given to us? Why is this body given to us? It is given to us just to, become a channel for fulfilling the divine wish. Therefore, every movement, every physical movement of ours has to be a movement that expresses beauty, that expresses divine, that expresses light, that expresses rhythm, that expresses harmony. So when this is achieved at the physical level, then life becomes truly beautiful. So beauty in the physical, beauty in the emotion, beauty in the thought, and beauty in every aspect of our being, when we are capable of manifesting it in every aspect of life, then life can become beautiful. So therefore, we see, when we look back and then look at the guidance that we get from the Shastras, from the Rishi tradition, that's what we find, that how much effort has gone into making life beautiful, yet life is not beautiful. Yet life is not happy, life is not joyful. Only a joyful life can be achieved by a rigorous discipline. And what is that discipline? The discipline which is not created by someone and then imposed on us, but a discipline which we have created for ourselves. And in that self-discipline, everything has to be practiced in life, which leads us towards a joyful life. And for that, again, the first step towards this is to live a conscious life, a life of awareness, not a life of robot, not a life of robot, not a life of machine, not a life which just thinks mechanically, behaves mechanically, or just happens mechanically. A life of awareness, conscious life. Therefore, there is a beautiful writing by the mother. It's called The Science of Living. not the art of living, but the science of living. Or you can call it the art and science of living. It begins with, like, an aimless life is a miserable life. To have beauty in life, to make the life, the first thing, a conscious life, a life of awareness, but a life which is conscious of its purpose. A purposeless life, aimless life, is a miserable life. It doesn't experience the joy. See, most of the times we do experience certain joy. We do experience certain happiness. It is not that life is completely devoid of happiness or joy or ananda. It is there. But what we experience in this mechanical life is not the ananda, but the vikara of ananda. Vikara means the modification of ananda, not the right ananda, not the right kind of joy, not the right kind of happiness. Therefore, however happy we may be in a situation, in the next moment, we become unhappy. We again experience unhappiness. So, our happiness, our joy then becomes kshanika, becomes temporal, becomes fragmentary. So there is no lasting happiness. But the tradition, the Rishi tradition, keeps at the center Shashwatam Sukham, Shashwati Shanti, the eternal happiness and the eternal peace, the lasting happiness and the lasting peace, which need to be achieved, attained, which needs to be attained by every one of us by following this discipline. So, if when we talk about happiness, when we talk about the joys and little joys and happiness in life, these are actually our sensual pleasures, our senses taking pleasure when the object is, or the wishes of the senses are satisfied. When our unrefined senses come in contact with the objects of the senses, they draw some kind of pleasure, and then we feel that, okay, this gives me happiness. Otherwise, like if we put a check on that, which actually we should do, we should put a check on the senses, on refined senses. We should develop refined senses, and the refined senses will not take interest in all that the unrefined senses are taking interest. So, refinement of the senses, living a conscious life, and educating every part of our being is the part of the discipline that we have to create for ourselves. So, Krishna therefore says to Arjuna in the Gita that every action of yours must be regulated, well measured, well calculated, and a conscious action. He uses the word yata, chitta, indriya, kriya. So you must function in this world having complete control over yourself, complete control over every aspect of your being, physical, emotional, mental, psychological. So there has to be absolute control. There has to be absolute mastery over yourself. Only when we attain to that self-mastery, life can become beautiful. Not only our individual life is beautiful, but we also must make effort to make our collective life beautiful. So then we will be able to create a beautiful society where all individuals are living a life beautiful. And for that, yata, chitta, indriya, kriya is the right guidance that we get from the Shastra. So how do we have control over every aspect of our life? How do we master? How do we attain to that self-mastery? So there are 4 ways. The first thing is that this consciousness, when we become aware of every aspect of ours, we must start observing ourselves. This self-observation is the first step in leading a life of awareness or life of consciousness or a conscious life. So observation of what? Observation of every movement, every pattern that takes place in us. So observing our physical part, observing our vital aspect, observing our mental psychological aspect, observing our higher life or the spiritual life. This observation is the first step. And how do we observe? Just like a witness, that we don't do anything, we just observe. This is the first step. While we are preparing ourselves, we have to be so conscious, so vigilant of ours, that nothing happens in our being without we being conscious of that. And because of the lack of this awareness, we keep suffering. So being vigilant, we keep observing every aspect of ours, and that's the first step. Then when we start observing, for example, like let's take the thought aspect of ours. Let's observe, let's be vigilant and observe like a witness, like a conscious witness, that what are the different kinds of thoughts which are arising in me, or what are the kind of thoughts which are truly coming from me or coming from outside. Just observe, good or bad, no need to discriminate. Just observing what kind of thought waves are taking place in me. This is the first step, observation. And once we have observed, once we have seen what happens, next step is to watch over. Watching over all the thoughts, like what kind of thoughts, positive or negative, harmful or good for ourselves, to watch over, to discriminate, and to have that, like sense, okay, these are the good thoughts which are appearing in me, arising in me. These are the thoughts which are very harmful. And we will find the maximum number of thoughts which we are, having in us, they're harmful, they're not necessary. Many unnecessary thoughts we are allowing within ourselves. So to watch over that, to see clearly what are the good thoughts and then what are the wrong thoughts. And then the third step is to control and allow only which is good for our soul's progress. So that comes the control part. Like control, do not allow the wrong thoughts, unnecessary thoughts, harmful thoughts, negative thoughts. And this is what is a part of our discipline, mental education. We have to educate the mind in a manner that if we tell the mind, no, this is not good, we will not allow. And slowly mind becomes trained and it becomes a natural part of the mind that it just ignores all kinds of negative thoughts and then concentrates only on what is good thought. Ano Bhadra Kratavo Yantu Vishwatah. That was the prayer of the rishis, that they prayed that may noble thoughts, good thoughts come unto us from all sides. No ill thought, no ill feeling for anyone. Everyone is doing tapasya, everyone is asking, seeking God's blessings. There are asuras which are doing tapasya, who are doing tapasya. There are devas who are doing tapasya. There are good souls, there are wrong souls, which are, in the sense, wrong beings who are doing tapasya. But when the God appears, it depends upon, so the attitude, the boon which is asked, so that defines whether one has the asuric attitude or a daivic attitude. So when Ravana, Shiva got pleased with Ravana. So what is the boon he asked? When Shiva got pleased with Tarakasura, or Brahma got pleased with Tarakasura, what was the boon he asked? That there should be no one who can kill me. So may I be able to rule over all the world. Let there be no one who can kill me or do me any harm. But when Dhruva was doing tapasya, when God appeared before him, what is the boon he asked? In a very simple language, he asked Swastyastu Vishwasya. May the world be happy. May the world be happy. So this is again another mantra, that when we seek within ourselves, when our prayer is let the good happen to the world, then the good will happen to us. But how many of us we are truly happy with the happiness of others? Not really. We may be saying that yes, we are happy, but if we ruthlessly observe ourselves, we really do not feel happy with the happiness of others. That may happen rarely. We all have all kinds of jealousy, envy, all kinds of sense of enmity, and we rather feel happy with if someone is suffering, something wrong happens, even to our friends and relatives, we feel happy. We may not express it, but there is something in us. If we ruthlessly observe ourselves, very critically observe ourselves, we'll find out there is a part in me which is taking joy when listening some wrong news or bad news about the friends. We may express some kind of like unhappiness, but this is what happens with most of us. That is why we keep suffering, because at the subtlemost level we are not yet rid of all that belongs to the animal consciousness, all that belongs to the lower vital nature of ours, all that belongs to all our primitive instincts. So this is where we need to educate ourselves and train ourselves by setting up a discipline for ourselves, so then life becomes beautiful. In life, we have harmony. In life, we have symmetry. In life, we have friendliness. Mitrasya chakshusha samiksha mahe. So may we look at each other with the eye of friend. Let there be mitra bhava. Let there be no shatru bhava. May there be no ripu bhava. And that can happen like there's one spiritual master, I do not remember the name, but I had read that it says that the moment, the day we start loving ourselves, love will manifest. Then we can never have anything in us, any part of our being, in any part of our being, which can even think ill of others or can think of the suffering of others. So the very fact that we do not love ourselves, if we find hatredness in us, if we find sense of enmity in us, if we find narrowness and meanness in us, so it shows that we truly do not love ourselves. We are not in love with ourselves. We have not yet discovered ourselves. We have not yet discovered the joy within. We have not yet discovered the beauty within. We have not yet discovered and established the harmony within, the beauty within, the symmetry within, the peace within, the real joy within. So that is the reason like why we keep suffering and not experiencing happiness. And because we are not experiencing happiness, we are unable to share also joy and happiness with others. So this self-discipline, what has been given to us by the tradition, by this age-long tradition, Bhadram Karnebhi Srunayama Deva, Bhadram Pasyema Akshibhir Yajatra, Sthiri Range Stushtuvangsastanovi. So with a strong body, Sharira Madhyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam, we have to spare much time in keeping this body strong and healthy, so then it can be useful in manifesting the divine will. Our whole purpose of life is to work for the divine. There's no other purpose in life. That has to be the greatest goal in life. And when the greatest goal is to work for the divine, then the greatest attainment is also the divine in his Ananda form, because he is Sarvanandamaya. Then life becomes beautiful. So living a purposeful life, not conscious of the very purpose of life, very aim of life, it leads towards the misery, suffering, afflictions, and we do not experience all that is beautiful and truly happy and joyful. Sthire ranges tushtuvangsastanohi vyashema devahitam yadayu. So whatever lifespan is given to us by the divine, let's utilize that lifespan, making our life more beautiful. That's why, again, one more prayer. So I'll end it with this prayer in the Veda, where it says that Pashyema Sharada Satam. So when we live, aspire, we must aspire to live a complete life of 100 years. So 100 is just a number, symbolic, but it refers to the complete life. May we live a complete life of 100 years, Pashyema, with the right vision, not just, physically seeing everything, but with the right vision. Jivem Sarada Shatam. And may we experience the pure dynamism of the life. May we live the life with that pure dynamism. Not just a passionate life, not just an ambitious life, but a life of true dynamism, of pure dynamism, true sakriyata, like everything is dynamic in our life. So Jivem, we must experience that life force and the pure dynamism in life, and then aspire a life of complete 100 years, or a complete life of 100 years. Shrunuyam Saradah Satam. And again, may we be able to live with the right power of audition, so then everything that we listen is Bhadra. Shrunuyam Saradah Satam. Then it says, Adina Syam Saradah Satam. May we never experience the poorness of our spirit. May we experience the strength of our spirit. May we live like a hero warrior, free from all kinds of weaknesses, all kinds of shortcomings and loopholes. At least, like how long it will take to attain to that state, we do not know, or it depends upon the degree and the intensity of the discipline that we follow. But this is what we need to manifest in our life, a life free from all weaknesses. There has to be sincerity in our aspiration and effort in achieving this state where we become free from all weaknesses. Adina Syama Saradha Satam. And then it says, why Saradha Satam? Why just 100 years? Bhuyascha Saradha Sata. And then we can just, live lives after lives, aspiring and fulfilling all that is beautiful, all that is joyful, all that is positive, all that is, heroic in nature, all that is free from all kinds of narrowness, weakness, and shortcomings and loopholes. And if this is what we keep in mind, and then shape our life, and then organize our life's activities around this central aspiration, or the true aspiration for living a life of beauty, life of harmony, life of peace, life of joy and happiness, then life can become beautiful. With these words, I end my deliberation today. If there are questions, I will address to that.
Can I, sir?
Yes, please.
Namaskar, Oviji Chatterjee here. Okay, let me. Namaste to. Yeah. First of all, it was very helpful, your presentation. It's really very inspiring and impactful. What comes to me is that we have several kind of limitations, each one of us. So maybe, we get stuck somewhere in order to make life beautiful and to find beauty and harmony in one's life in some way or other. And like Sri Aurobindo puts, the success of sadhana is that, when one is unable to do on his own, then to really open up and allow the divine to work for us. and to surmount the difficulties. So finally, I think that is the reality without which we cannot really, progress much with the tremendous kind of limitations the human being has in all parts of the being. So if you can reflect on that, because sometimes, even after best efforts, we get stuck up, and we have to wait for the divine intervention. So if you can kindly elaborate on this, your feelings, your experience in the light of the Mother and Sri Aurobindo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's very natural that, like in spite of all our efforts, all our sincere efforts, I mean, we think that we are sincere. The mother has spoken about it. Sri Aurobindo has spoken about it, like at various places, and the similar questions asked to them. He said that in spite of all our efforts, if there is failure, in spite of all our efforts, if there is failure, he says that write down in bold letter that I am not sincere enough. This is the reason that we fail. We think that we have put enough effort for achieving something, but Sri Aurobindo and the mother, both of them, they have said that write down in bold letter that I am not sincere. There will be, because to be sincere is not just to be punctual and then hardworking and regular, but being sincere is to be in tune with the true being of ourselves. Being sincere is to keep the divine always on the side. Being sincere is to work only for the divine purpose. So if there is slightest vested interest, selfish interest, we are not sincere. So how do we convert or transform our entire life for the divine? We work, every aspect of our life is just meant for the divine. Then that true sincerity, then we are truly sincere. So that is why categorically both Mother and Sri Aurobindo have said that whenever there is failure, in spite of all hard work and effort, write down, I am not sincere. And sincerity is defined in this manner, to be totally, to live totally for the divine, to work totally for the divine, with no selfish or vested interest. And that's of course, like it demands, just imagine what kind of effort it will demand from every one of us. And then how many lives it will take to attain to such perfection in life. So then we are totally given to the divine.
Yeah, one thing corollary to this is like the psychic of different persons, may find meaning and may find truth in, that, I mean, in a same situation or same circumstances, it's not necessary that the psychic of everyone would, the truth for the psychic is same for everyone.
Yeah,
So,
true.
yeah, if
So
that,
then, like every individual, therefore the journey of each individual is different. So every individual has to keep aspiring and then putting the effort on the path of progress. So, and it will differ, the path will differ, the processes will differ, and the attainment also will differ. The degree of attainment also will differ depending upon the quality of the contact with the psychic or the evolution. So this is all part of our evolutionary journey.
thank you. And last thing, what I find is that human beings have to do certain things habitually, like, it's like a repetition, maybe
Yeah.
rituals, prayers, yoga, whatever. And that becomes a bondage.
Yeah.
To live freely without any bondage, that's the ultimate aim. But our progress has to be through repetitions. And this, the physical mind, it has this limitation, and to overcome that, at every stage, again, it has some progress, it has some value, but then it has to be again, got over it. So the slow is very, the progress is very slow, in the sense like, we need to adopt to some habits and then again to get rid of it. So how do you suggest? Like, I think Sri Aurobindo in his life also at one point of time practiced pranayam very sincerely, and then he got over it. And then finally, I think in his life, he didn't have any kind of rituals, prayers. I'm not aware of it. Maybe you can highlight, or the mother. I think they lived freely. They didn't have to go through any kind of rituals, be it prayers, or yoga, or mental formation. I think that what we're aiming at? I think.
Yeah, like it all depends upon. That's why, like there was no fixed disciplines created by Sri Aurobindo and the mother, and then everyone is left to oneself to find out the path. That's why he says that he calls his own ashram as a human laboratory. Like everyone has to put oneself into that test and then find out, depending upon one's own swabhava and swadharma. So what is the best way to proceed on the path? So that all depends upon every individual sadhak, every individual seeker. And yes, slow, definitely. But if there is sincerity in aspiration, if there is purity in aspiration, if there is, intensity in our aspiration, the victory is sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to ask something here. So when you mentioned that in the Aurobindo ashram, there was no set path and everybody has to figure out their own path according to Swadharma and Swabhava. Was it like, I mean, are the different paths based on the yoga paths like karma, bhakti, things like that? Or are we talking about something else entirely here?
Yeah, some people whose temperament may be like they fall for karma yoga. Some people, their natural temperament may be through bhakti. Some people may be like jnana. So each one has to discover oneself within and then find out what helps. For example, there was a devotee in the ashram who could never meditate. So he asked one day to the mother, "Mother, what is this meditation?" But he is a very sincere sadhak. Very sincere sadhak. He said, "But I'm unable to meditate. I keep working, and I feel very jealous of my friends who have been, like sitting and then meditating for hours together." So the mother gave him a very different definition of meditation, which is suitable to his temperament. So the mother said, "Why do you think that meditation is to sit with crossed leg and then eyes closed, and then you don't know what is happening in the mind?" So she said, because that person was a sincere worker, his temperament is more of, like the karma. So the mother said, any work done with right attitude is meditation. You may be sweeping a floor, you may be cleaning your toilet, you may be cooking, you may be driving, you may be doing anything. But if it is done with right attitude, and what is the right attitude? The right attitude is with sincerity. And what is sincerity? By making it an offering to the divine, by carrying this sense that we are for the divine, we are the divine. We all have that divinity as the core essence of ours. And then we must perform everything by being conscious of that core essence, the divinity, and then make an offering to the divine. So when that happens, any work done becomes meditation. So that's where, like some people may be having the temperament of, like a jnana. So they will be led by that path. For them, if someone of that temperament asks a question to the mother, like, what is meditation? So maybe like she will say that, okay, writing poetry for you maybe is meditation, or contemplating on the task that you are doing or creating is meditation. The thing is, like, there is a beautiful term in the Gita which is yogastha or yukta. So how deeply we are connected with this core essence of ours, it doesn't matter whatever our temperament may be. What matters is this connection. Yukta, yogastha. Yogastha kuru karmani. Perform all your action by being united with the deepest self of yours, the core essence of yours. So how much connection we have, how we get connected while performing our action is the most important aspect. Any other question, or we end it?
I have a question, Sampananandarya, is that it is related to when we are working collectively and there is something to be done, the way we will do, sometimes we are in disagreement with the other person. And very often I think about, the Satyam Bravet, Priyam Bravet, because whatever I'm seeing in that moment, I'm aware that it is just my limited version of the truth. And so can you tell something about that Priyam Vadet? That what is that Priyam, and listening to you now, it feels that if I'm connected to that, whatever, the deepest and the most beautiful part of me, then I should not worry about the form in which it will come out. That is what is coming to me. But very often I question this, what is this Priyam Vadet? It is not about being nice and kind and the way we can think about, how the mind can. So I just would like to hear you say about this. What is this Priyam?
Yeah, anything which is pleasing to oneself, not just pleasing to the senses. So anything which is pleasing to oneself and anything which helps us in our progress is Priyam. Anything which is helpful, good for the Antaratman, for the progress of the Antaratman, that is what is Priyam. Not just pleasing to the ears or pleasing to the senses, but pleasing to the self is Priyam. But sometimes when it says that Priyam chana anrutam bruya, so there it is, like something which is pleasing to our ears, our senses, but it is not true. That's where we, discussed in the beginning about the filters. There are something which is very pleasing where the senses take interest in that, but which is not true. So he says, even though that is pleasing to someone or pleasing to the senses, good to hear, but there is no truth in it, never speak such pleasing words. At the same time, even though it is true, but it is unpleasant, like unpleasant truth, that also you should never speak. So in the matter of speech, in the matter of communication, we have to be careful about this. Something which is pleasing but not true, something which is true but not pleasing, not good. It doesn't do anything good, even though it is a truth. So one should avoid that. That's what is the word priya and apriya in that verse.
Mhm. So it has got nothing to do about whether it is going to be pleasing to the other person or not.
Yeah, it all depends upon like what you wish to do. Like if you are just, like trying to please the other person, but why do you want to please the other person? That also like you have to say like, why do I want to please the other person? What is the purpose? Do I wish to get something from the other person just to keep him or her in the good humor? So then, there is no harm for me. So what is the purpose? So clarity of purpose in anything that we do shows our sincerity in pursuing our own sadhana. Why do we want to do something? Why do we want to respect someone? Do something good even for the world. There are many people who do good work for the world. If you ask them, why do you want to do it? So at the subtlemost level, you'll find that there is some, like vested interest for which even someone doing a lot of good work. There is at least, like this sense of doership. If there is no other vested interest, at least the sense of doership that, like I do it. It's because of me, like something good happens. That is also a vested interest.
Namaste, sir. I'm Abhishek. I have a question around this doership and activity. So I am also a sadhak, and I do mostly like Kriya Yoga. Apart from that, I also do. I'm working with a corporate here in Chennai. So many a time, what I feel is like the activity. I'm also involved with certain activities, which is better for the humanity in some way or the other. But with the activity itself, many a time I'm feeling that even the sadhana that I do is also an activity. Any external activity, like I'm speaking, this is also an activity. So at the bottom of it, somewhere I find that is activity itself the end of the activity. Sometimes I just feel like that I'm just doing something, but probably I should not be doing it. So I just simply sit. I do not even try to think that what should be my next activity or some work that I am doing specifically. So mind just keeps revolving around that particular activity itself, or either for my sadhana or anything for that matter. So I just sometimes just get blank that whether activity itself is the end or is activity a means to an end. So I simply sit, I try to do nothing, absolutely nothing, no sadhana, no activity, outside activity, no speaking. I just simply tend to sit with my eyes closed. I don't do nothing, no particular way of either breathing, nothing, absolutely nothing. So is that the right approach, and what is the act? What is
The same question was there in Arjuna's mind also. Like, can we really have such a situation where no action takes place? Even sitting quietly is also an action.
That is also an action.
Yeah, that's also an action. So that's where it says that there is nothing in this world which is inactive. There's action even at the most grossmost level, even at the most inert object. There is action at the nucleus level. So one can never become free from the action. So what is to be done? So that's what was the main issue with Arjuna, and that's where Gita's teaching is so practical, that no one can become free from the clutches of the gunas of Prakriti. Gunas of the Prakriti. Everyone is affected by the sattva, rajas, and tamas. Something, one of it is predominant. But what is ultimately, what has to take place? That one has to become gunatita. Now see, it may sound little philosophical, gunatita. But how do we transcend the gunas? Is it possible to transcend the gunas? Become free from it? No, it is not possible. What does it mean to become gunatita? Is to manifest the transformed state of all the gunas. Like all the gunas have two extreme ends. The lower end, the lowest end, and the highest end. At the lowest end, for example, tamas means all dark, obscure, inertia, lethargy, everything wrong. But the same at the highest level, at the transformed level, is the pure tranquility. Pure tranquility. Same way, when rajas is all passion, in the transformed state, it is the pure dynamism. It keeps you active, but there is pure dynamism. There's no other interest in that. Then sattva, though it is just light and happiness and joy, but in the transformed state, it is the pure light, light without shadow. It's the pure joy, lasting joy. So this is what one needs to attain in life and then operate from that state in the world. So then one has complete mastery over oneself, whether one will act at a certain point of time or not, whether I will allow the mind to be thoughtful or I just keep it in a state of blank. So one needs to attain this self-mastery by attaining to the transformed state of all the gunas. That's what is the answer of the Gita for these questions.
So, sir, I just have one small thing to it. But where is that? So to reach that state of that tranquility or the final or the highest state of these gunas, also there is some activity that needs to be performed. At least to me, that's how it looks like to me, that there is certain
Yes,
activity.
one cannot become free from action. This world is the world of action. Even the very creation happens by action. If the God doesn't act upon himself, the creation will not take place. Begins with the action. The Kriya Shakti is everywhere. The Ichha Shakti itself is an action. The Jnana Shakti itself is an action. Nothing can become free from action. But how do we perform action? That depends, and in that lies the real purpose of life, or the real question lies there, with what attitude we perform action by being in the world. Many people thought that maybe like switching off, attaining to some kind of state of blank or void, that itself is maybe is the moksha or nirvana. But that didn't help. Buddha did attain to certain state of void. But ultimately one has to be in the world. And things have to be attained in this world. Here, so many times this expression one finds in the Upanishad, iheva, here. If not here, there is a great perdition, that there is a great danger. Mahati vinashti. Like everything that needs to be attained, it has to be attained here in this world. And what needs to be attained is this state, this transformed state of Shashwatam Sukham or Shashwati Santi, the eternal happiness and peace.